What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below, the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Guys like this new look? Maybe just for today. Maybe not. So a game that a lot of people want to come back is Freedom Fighters. This is a title, guys, that feels like it came out so long ago, which it is definitely an older game to say the least. But, my first playthrough with Freedom Fighters, I had a great time. And really, it had kind of mixed reviews, but over the course of time, it's become a cult classic. And a lot of people really want to see a continuation happen. And so I want to talk about Freedom Fighters 2. I've talked about this on the YouTube channel previously. You can check out all of my Freedom Fighters content here on the YouTube channel. But I want to talk about this because there was an article that came out from Game Rant back in 2020, and I want to talk about it, take some things and some, for reference, and then we can talk about, is this a possibility, that being a Freedom Fighters 2? Let's get into it. So guys, as I mentioned, this is an article coming to us from Rob Dolan of Game Rant. Why the Freedom Fighters return is a huge deal. Back before Homefront and Homefront Revolution, there was another alternate history-themed video game that flew under the radar. Developed by the same team that was responsible for Hitman's rise to fame, IO Interactive also developed a third-person shooter known as Freedom Fighters. While it was generally well received at the time, the game ended up becoming a cult classic among all the fans who originally played the game. Now in its most recent re-release, Freedom Fighters has a chance to show why it was so beloved in 2003. IO Interactive even expressed on social media that fans have been asking for a re-release, remaster, or remake of this game for years, and for good reason. Freedom Fighters made a lot of important innovations in sandbox, open world-like design back in 2003, things that were later implemented in hugely popular open world games years later, alongside a provocative and patriotic setting that only a few games have tackled. Bringing the Freedom Fighters franchise back after a long hiatus is a very good sign. Now, obviously, guys, Freedom Fighters, when I played it, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was, the greatest game ever made, but I did think that there were some really cool core elements. I liked it a lot more than Homefront and Homefront Revolution. I thought that there was some really interesting and intriguing elements to the game that I thought that they could implement in the future iterations of it, that being like sequels and stuff. And, at the time I thought, hey, this is probably going to be a long-withstanding franchise, and ended up not happening. Well, why is that? In a lot of ways, Freedom Fighters ended up being very indirectly formative for sandbox and open world games. Freedom Fighters did some interesting things with the game's systemic world, as each region of New York was divided into certain districts that involved a lot of purposeful backtracking. There would be anywhere between 2 to 4 zones in a region, but each contained a pivotal part of the Russian army's strength. Various regions would be guarded by different forms of the Russian military strength, like helicopters that patrolled and guarded major strongholds, or troop convoys that would respawn enemies in cleared areas. This is where the game's simple yet clever world building made progression in the game seem both organic and purposeful. For example, if a heavily armored helicopter is guarding the fire station, players would want to backtrack to the harbor district and destroy the helipad, which makes the fire station much easier to liberate. Not only that, but each successful sabotage increased players' charisma, allowing them to recruit more squad mates to fight with them. This was never a required task, but sabotaging various parts of the Russian army's strength evoked the feeling in players that the actions they were taking meant something in the revolution. And this was, something, I remember while playing this title, and there was this real feeling that the things that you were doing within the game, like you were actually, it mattered in the grand scope of just the narrative of the game and what they were trying to do. And you felt like you were actually a part of it, and you were with all these other, individuals, and you were doing all all these different things within the world to help build the legacy, the lore, the story that ended up, of course, being freedom fighters. And so there was definitely something to be said there about what was being built here by IO Interactive. Freedom Fighters also employed a ton of other smaller world-building elements that made the adventure much more immersive. After every mission, players returned to the game's hub world in the New York sewer system. With each liberated region in New York, the rebel base in the sewers grew bigger as more tents and supplies were erected in the base. While the base building was never as systemic and widespread as something like Metal Gear Solid 5's expansive systems, it still accomplished the same level of immersions, both visually and functionally. This progression emphasized the player's revolution was growing stronger. This is also where the charisma and squad-based mechanics come into play. Throughout each mission, players can recruit an increasing number of teammates to fight alongside them. Players had access to 3 simple commands, but it was yet another gameplay feature that emphasized the importance of the player's revolution. As pivotal moments occur throughout the game, like rescuing hostages or destroying the Soviet Union's military infrastructure, the player's charisma levels up. As charisma increases, players can recruit even more fighters to their cause. This kind of system showed up in games like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood more recently, but Freedom Fighters did it in 2003. And it's really mind-blowing to me, guys, that Freedom Fighters, it was that long ago when this game came out. 2003. So long ago, guys. And we're talking 20 years ago this game was released, and people are still talking about it to this day. I am still talking about it. I'm creating content about Freedom Fighters and wanting a Freedom Fighters too. I think that there was definitely something special to be said about Freedom Fighters and what they were doing here. And I've been, very vocal on my YouTube channel, guys, saying that, open world games are not necessarily, they're not my favorite. I like more linear games where I know exactly what needs to be done within each mission of a campaign. But that being said, open world games are very special in a number of ways. Number one is usually the open world games, the world is your sandbox and you can do whatever you want in it. Number two is that after you beat the original campaign, you can go back and typically do side missions, or you can just explore the world. And so there's so many different opportunities to, do that, whether you're alone or with friends. And so I think there's something very special to be said about what Freedom Fighters started. And we have a lot to really thank IO Interactive and Freedom Fighters for some of the games that have come after. For most fans jumping back into the re-release, many are hoping the success of this launch on PC could lead to a reinvigoration of the franchise. Even though Hitman's reboot has done remarkably well for IO Interactive, fans of Freedom Fighters have been asking about the status of the franchise for years and whether a remake, remaster, or sequel was coming. IO's always been vocally proud of the Freedom Fighter series, even though a planned sequel in 2005 was eventually canceled. Many are hoping the success of this re-release could potentially spur on a sequel in the series. Bottom line is this, guys. Obviously, we have no indication that a Freedom Fighters 2 is in development or something that's even really in the minds of those over at IO Interactive. Obviously, them working on Hitman. Hitman is a massive franchise, and they're going to be continuing that for the foreseeable future in my mind. Freedom Fighters, though, I feel if they could have a small team or they could hire a separate team to kind of work on it, right? A separate, like an independent company, and IO Interactive kind of oversees everything. I could really see something like that maybe happening. I would love to see that for Freedom Fighters, for the community, the people who want to play this game, a sequel to it, that is. And I think they could really actually continue innovating it and could make something really special. In terms of, why the sequel never came about in 2005 and why it was canceled, really, guys, there's a number of things. When you talk about the continuation or not of any franchise out there, there's usually one of a couple of things that could happen, right? Number one is you have the developer has a much bigger IP that they're working on, and for IO Interactive, in their case, it's Hitman, right? The second thing is that there could have been creative differences. Maybe they didn't see where Freedom Fighters was going in terms of making a sequel, and maybe they just had disagreements internally. Or number three is that Freedom Fighters, bottom line, guys, it's all about, when it comes to the developers and publishers, most of the time, it's about the money, guys, and Freedom Fighters not being like a commercial success, like a smash hit, even though it got well received, doesn't mean that it was as big as something like Hitman. Maybe that's why they drifted off to working on something, that they felt that it was more, they were able to make more off of, and that being, the Hitman franchise. And we've seen what that's done now for their company, moving forward. But I do think that there is something to be said for a Freedom Fighters 2. But it's up to us, guys, as the community, voicing our opinion that we want a Freedom Fighters 2, messaging IO Interactive, whether it's on Twitter, vocally doing those things and creating groups on, Facebook and social media, things of that nature can really, you build movements and you can echo games into existence. I've seen it happen, guys, with a game like Dead Space. It took years upon years to get a reboot and a remaster of Dead Space, but it happened. And so you never know what could possibly happen. Let me know, though, guys, what do you all think about Freedom Fighters, and would you love to see a Freedom Fighters 2 in the future? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Freedom Fighters content and videos, stay here with zrotv. One of my favorite games of all time is StarCraft. StarCraft, guys, real-time strategy game that is really what got me started on zrotv. When I first started my YouTube channel, what I started the YouTube channel on, guys, you can go back and check all of my StarCraft content. What I did was I would cast StarCraft 2 pro games on the YouTube channel, and I would put it out there. And so I did that for about a year on the YouTube channel. And so I created so much StarCraft 2 content on here, and I've always wanted another StarCraft game. I've talked about it so many times on the YouTube channel, StarCraft 3, and could we ever see this come out in the future? And it's been something that the community's been wanting for so long. Activision Blizzard has just kind of ignored it, but lo and behold, another game got announced, another real-time strategy game from a lot of the guys who made StarCraft 2, and that is Stormgate. And when that was announced, guys, immediately my mind went to Blizzard is going to announce a StarCraft 3 at some point in the foreseeable future, because obviously with competition, that sometimes breeds the best things to happen within, different companies and such. And so Activision Blizzard, it is reported that they are working actively on a StarCraft 3. Let's talk about it. This is an article coming to us from Siddharth Patel of Sportskeeda. StarCraft 3 is reportedly in development at Activision Blizzard. After much clamoring over the years by fans, Blizzard may be reviving a beloved franchise. StarCraft 3 is said to be in development at the American studio as a successor to its 2010 predecessor. This comes from reputable insider Ches Corden of Windows Central. Twitter users asked him about the future of the fan-favorite sci-fi RTS series. As a response, he alluded to the fact that a new entry is coming. And when asked about, Onyx tweeted saying StarCraft 3 with a question mark. Ches said, yep. He said, you know anything? And Ches says, yep, once again. Which is crazy. When will the game come out, though, is the big question, guys. And so sadly, we have no details except that a new installment is coming. So players will have to wait for official details from the publisher itself. No information about its state of development was provided either. So it is hard to say when it will release. However, it is no surprise that a new entry is in the works. And obviously, guys, in my mind, the real reason behind all of this is, number one, yeah, the fans have been asking for it, but because Stormgate got announced, I believe really put a lot of pressure on Blizzard to make a third entry in StarCraft in that franchise, because Stormgate is going to draw basically everybody from the StarCraft community over to Stormgate. Blizzard knows this, and so once once that announcement happened, it makes a lot of sense that they decided to really greenlight StarCraft 3, and Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe StarCraft 3 has been in development for years, guys, but I believe that we're going to get an official announcement of StarCraft 3 this year at BlizzCon. I would not be surprised at all that you get a quick little teaser, trailer, or something of that nature, maybe even just a graphic showing that StarCraft 3 is coming. And I would expect it probably in the next few years, unless they are very, very far already into development. So, as for the series itself, StarCraft is one of the most renowned real-time strategy game franchises. It debuted in 1998 with the game genre-defining original. It highlighted a war between three galactic races in the 25th century AD. So then there's the 2010 sequel, which was StarCraft II Wings of Liberty, another massive hit. It improved upon every gameplay system of the original. It received 3 major expansions, which offered more ways to indulge in the addictive gameplay. Now, even though StarCraft 2 was never as big as StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2 in my mind is far superior from a graphical perspective, from a gameplay perspective. Coming back to the experience over and over again, I thought that StarCraft 2 blew it out of the water. I can't believe it wasn't as big as StarCraft 1, but StarCraft 1 is still massive to this day. And maybe we'll see something very similar with CSGO and CSGO 2. People still think that CSGO 1 is just, far superior to CSGO 2, even though CSGO 2 is going to have updated graphics and things of that nature. But StarCraft 3, there is so many opportunities to expand upon that universe from a campaign perspective, from multiplayer to co-op, adding more races. The list goes on and on, guys. Could StarCraft 3 come to consoles? This is a very interesting talking point. It is hard to say since the series has largely been PC exclusive. In fact, the genre as a whole finds its natural habitat on the PC platform. But then there is the original entry, which did receive a Nintendo 64 version called StarCraft 64. Despite being a far inferior version to the main rendition, it was incredibly impressive. So, look, I would have to tell you that I actually don't want it to come to consoles because it's real-time strategy games on console doesn't make sense. I mean, besides maybe like Tom Clancy's End War, which I believe was way beyond its time, I just wouldn't really want to see it. I would much rather prefer to play it on PC. That is where RTS is really designed for, unless you're coming out with something where you have voice commands and things of that nature. But obviously time will tell. Given that the current gen consoles have a decent amount of technical grunt under the hood, it may be plausible for this new rumored entry to arrive on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Modern RTS titles like Relic Entertainment's Company of Heroes 3 have received console ports, so this is definitely a sign of things to come. Once again, guys, I don't believe it's going to come to consoles, but who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened. All that really matters to me, though, whether you're talking console, PC, both, I just want to see a StarCraft 3. Bring out a StarCraft 3. We've been asking for it for years. Blizzard is still the best when it comes to making RTS titles. I mean, they have to update their resume, obviously. It's been a long time since they brought out an expansion for StarCraft 2 or anything of that sorts. But I still believe in them as a company. I still believe that they could make the RTS of our time. And I believe that StarCraft 2 was the RTS of our time, but StarCraft 3 could really take us, the next, and servicing it and all of that, that's another 10 years of playing a game that could be so special. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comment section down below. Should they make a StarCraft 3? What do you guys think about the announcement that they're actively working on a StarCraft 3? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more StarCraft 3 content and videos, stay here with zrotv. So let's talk about Payday, guys. This is a franchise that I absolutely love this franchise. I think it's a really special one. And I think a lot of people out there really enjoy it too. It sold millions upon millions of copies. And, a lot of talk has been that Payday 3 could very well be the last in the franchise just due to there's been a number of complications behind the scenes with Starbreeze Studios, Overkill, bankruptcy talks, all these different things, selling, their stock and just the list goes on and on. There's a number of things that are reported behind the scenes that, obviously could really tamper or hurt the Payday franchise moving forward. But I'm going to tell you something. The success of Payday 3 And I believe it's going to be very successful because we heard back, I believe, in January of this year that over 1 million people wish listed the game on Steam. And so that's telling me that there's going to be a lot of people who play this game, especially if it is, you know, something very, very special. And so that being said, could we see a Payday 4? I know we're already looking in the future with Payday 3, you know, just kind of just a talking point at this point. Could Payday 4 happen, say, if Payday 3 does really well? And to me, guys, I believe absolutely Payday 3 could, in its success, could absolutely greenlight a Payday 4. Because obviously, this being, you know, such a massive game for Overkill and Starbreeze, if they crush it and it gets knocked out of the park and they address any bugs, glitches, things of that nature when the game, you know, when it releases and anything as time goes and they're servicing the game, could that lead us to a Payday 4? I've said this before, that Payday as a franchise, to me, never felt like it was just going to be 3 games. Like it was going to be a long withstanding franchise. Now, I mean, I just want them to focus on Payday 3 at this point in time and just crush it. And, you know, if we get a Payday 4 in the future, awesome. But I just really believe, guys, that we as the community supporting this title is what's going to really help us get another game in the series. And because Payday, you know, obviously there's games that are, you know, there's similarities, differences though to a Payday versus other titles out there. And I just think it's very important that Payday stays a part of the gaming ecosystem, you know, in the future. I mean, everybody's excited about Payday, you know, and that's what's awesome about this. I'm super excited about it. I know everybody else is very excited about this. It's going to, you know, with the release of it, we're going to have to enjoy it, guys, for sure. And I'm sure they're going to make multiple editions. There's going to be a lot of different, you know, earnable items and lots of ways that we can connect with the franchise or with Payday 3 when it releases. And I'm going to be, of course, playing it and streaming it and all these different things. But I just believe that this is a title that deserves to have multiple continuations. I'm not saying, guys, that, you know, every series has to have continuations, but I feel like in this case, with a company that was on the brink of, you know, of bankruptcy problems and having all of those things going on, I believe that Payday is that thing that's going to continue, that's going to bring them out of any dark place that they're in and could really bring them to a forefront in the gaming community. And Payday, I mean, I think that the IP speaks for itself, and I really believe that we as the community, if we really enjoy and they address the issues and make it as good of a game as possible, this is going to be a juggernaut of a title. And I'm really excited about it. I'm all in for it. Let me know, though, what you guys all think about it in the comment section down below. Do you think that Payday 3 and the success of Payday 3 is going to lead us to a Payday 4, Payday 5, so on and so forth? Let me know what you guys think. And for more Payday 3 content and videos, stay here with zrotv. Many people in the Call of Duty community are still asking, myself included, for a Call of Duty Ghosts 2, a continuation of a title that I will say was not the best Call of Duty ever made, but was a Call of Duty that had a couple of things going for it that are different and in ways were very innovative to what all the other Call of Duties have done even to date. Let's talk about it, guys. Will we ever get a Call of Duty Ghosts 2? I've talked about Call of Duty Ghosts 2 a lot on my YouTube channel. You guys can check out all of that content here. But could this game ever come out or see the light of day? My first answer is most likely not, guys. Just because Modern Warfare and Black Ops are so huge in terms of being the 2 largest sub-series in the overarching franchise of Call of Duty, I have a hard time them ever going away from it. They're probably just going to go back and forth between Modern Warfare and Black Ops, and from a business perspective, it makes sense. Call of Duty Ghosts 2, though, the reason why I say that this is the game I want to see out of Call of Duty at some point or another, number one, the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign left us on the biggest cliffhanger ever in Call of Duty history, in my personal opinion. I thought that the Call of Duty Ghost campaign is one of the best ever made in Call of Duty's history. And the cliffhanger alone, though, leaves us with wanting more and wanting to know, like, what happens next. That's number one. Number two, the multiplayer I felt was pretty weak in Call of Duty Ghosts. There were a couple of good maps, Strike Down. I mean, you know, some decent maps, decent weapons. The esports scene was okay to watch as well. But overall, I feel that they had some elements that they could move into a Call of Duty Ghosts 2, realize kind of the things that they did wrong in the first one from the multiplayer, and implement a lot of those new things, and even some of the things they're doing with Modern Warfare and Black Ops into Ghosts to make the multiplayer experience absolutely awesome. Number three, they had, you know, they went away from you know, zombies, which was, of course, Black Ops, you know, co-op mode, Spec Ops, which was Modern Warfare, and Infinity Ward's, you know, co-op modes. And they went away from that. And what they really did was created a co-op experience in the form of Extinction, which essentially was zombies. But I always, you know, I thought what was awesome about Extinction was, number one, it was aliens instead of zombies. And number two was you could beat it. And it wasn't like, you know, zombies, you're just going up against waves and waves of these zombies and it's never ending essentially. Whereas Extinction made it, was really, really fascinating to me because you could play the game and you could actually beat it. You could beat Extinction and that game mode. And I thought that they could have really expanded upon Extinction, multiple levels and, you know, so on and so forth, different things that you could do with like expansions, so on and so forth. And we never really got to see that because we never got a Call of Duty Ghosts 2. And obviously, most people liked zombies more than Extinction. I personally liked Extinction more than zombies, but, and I know I'm in the minority there, but all in all, guys, when you think of every level of Call of Duty Ghosts, from campaign to multiplayer to Extinction, you had all these different reasons to make a second game. Now, sure, was it, I mean, it was the best-selling game that year, as Call of Duty is every year, but was it as you know, good of a seller as, say, Black Ops or Modern Warfare? It wasn't. And so that's probably why, you know, Activision decided to not pursue it. I believe, though, guys, that if we want a game like Call of Duty Ghosts 2 to come out, we need to be vocal about it. We need to be talking to Activision Blizzard, whether it's through social media, you know, or other means. I believe that we can echo this game into existence. You know, it's definitely a long shot, like I said, because Modern Warfare and Black Ops are definitely those two that they're going to kind of go back and forth between those two, it seems. There's no excuses, though. I feel that if we all do our part, you definitely could see a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 in the future. Especially when the community maybe starts talking about being, you know, getting kind of sick and tired of Modern Warfare and Black Ops. I don't think it'll ever happen, but at some point or another, people may say, hey, we want change again, and Call of Duty Ghosts 2 could potentially give you that change. I really hope, guys, that we get a continuation, or we hear what happened in the campaign. We get continuations of the Extinction and all of that. I think it would be really, really fascinating. But let me know, guys, in the comment section down below, is Call of Duty Ghosts 2 a game that you would like to see, or is it something that you have, you know, memories of, but you'd rather just stick with Modern Warfare and Black Ops? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let's have a real conversation about it. And for more Call of Duty Ghosts 2 content and videos, stay here with zrotv. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of The 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.